All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular public council meeting for Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, here at the town of Torbay. We'll call our meeting to order. New business, Councillor Tepper.
Pass.
Mr. Manning?
I'll pass.
Pollard?
Pass.
Councillor Appleby?
No, thank you.
Councillor Goss?
Pass.
Deputy Mayor's not here. And I got a thanks and a congrats. Okay. Is there anybody who would like to get on the first Q&A session? You guys are here for proclamations, right? Okay, good. All right, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you very much. We have a regular public council minutes for March 4th. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Conflict of interest, the sheet is there for 585 to 5 and 597 Enemy Line. If there's a conflict that you have to declare, we'll do that at the time when that issue comes up. Alrighty, moving into our agenda. We have a proclamation here for Purple Day for Epilepsy, March 26th. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you noted, Purple Day for Epilepsy, March 26th. Whereas Purple Day is a global effort to promote epilepsy awareness in countries across the world. And whereas Purple Day was founded by 9-year-old Cassidy Megan of Nova Scotia, who wanted to let people know that if you have epilepsy, you are not alone. And whereas epilepsy is a chronic neurological disorder which affects each person differently, estimated to affect more than 10,000 people in Newfoundland and Labrador, over 300,000 people in Canada, and 50 million people worldwide. And whereas 1 in 10 persons will have at least one seizure during their lifetime, and whereas the public is often unable to recognize common seizure types and unable to respond with appropriate first aid, and whereas Purple Day will be celebrated on March 26th annually to increase understanding, reduce stigma, and improve the quality of life for people living with epilepsy throughout the country and globally.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Craig Scott, at the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim March 26th as Purple Day in an effort to raise awareness and understanding of epilepsy and to support all those who live with seizures each day. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? We do have somebody here. Hallie Burns Kozak. Do I have that right? Okay, and she's with Epilepsy Newfoundland Labrador. And once we pass this, we'll give her an opportunity to have a few words. That's fine. Okay. Rhonda?
I'd like to say, years and years ago when I was in high school, we had a classmate who had epilepsy, and at that time, which is a lot, like I said, a long time ago, her classmates were instructed that, you know, if anything happened that she had a seizure or something, the basic procedures to do. And there were several times throughout the year that we witnessed it, and it was really scary on times. But I'd like to think that, and I haven't witnessed it since, but it's something you don't forget. But I know that with the medical advancement and stuff like that, things have certainly improved a lot over the years. But this is, you know, definitely an important thing, and I'm glad that we're looking at it and part of it. That's,
Anyone else?
yeah.
I'll just say a couple of quick words, and I mentioned this to Hallie earlier. This Purple Day Epilepsy proclamation every year comes up is very dear to me. My nephew has Dravet syndrome, which is a very rare form of epilepsy, and he's been suffering seizures since he was 1 year old. And he just turned 16 a little while ago. And my sister has been a champion for children with Torbay syndrome. She set up a foundation. They've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for research, and you know, it takes people like that and people like Epilepsy Newfoundland Labrador to raise awareness for these issues and to advocate for people who may not sometimes be able to advocate for themselves. So I'm very proud that the town of Torbay is again declaring this proclamation. And with that, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, Hallie, you can jump up there and have the floor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hallie. I also live here in Torbay. I recently joined the Epilepsy Foundation on March 1st, coincidentally right on Purple Day. It's been quite the journey learning so much about everybody who goes through epilepsy in their life. As he was stating, with the statistics that we have, only 10,000 people here live with epilepsy, and the awareness is very, very low. By joining the Epilepsy Foundation and working with them, we have many goals this year to spread awareness and make sure that everybody knows how to help a person with epilepsy in their life. Do any of you guys have any questions?
We were talking, go ahead. We were talking earlier, right? You're going to be having your epilepsy walk this year?
Yes,
You just wanted
definitely.
to give us a little detail on it, and Ann will make a note of it, and we'll be sure to.
Yes, definitely. So we've had one epilepsy walk. It started last year. It was a wonderful adventure down at Kitty Vitty. This year we plan on doing it at the same location, but we're gonna do it in the summertime, probably July. We don't have a date set yet, but we plan on walking around the Kitty Vitty, having some little stations there for people to have drinks and refreshers, possibly a food truck to be there as well. We're going to be starting the fundraiser likely next month. If you're on the membership list for Epilepsy Foundation, you will receive an email. There'll also be posts on all of our social media platforms and emails sent out to the people who request it in regards to what we're going to be doing.
Okay, excellent. Anybody have any questions? Howard? All right, I'll jump up now. We'll get a picture.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting if you don't want to. Okay, where am I? So now we have another proclamation for National American Sign Language Day. And Councillor Gotts.
National American Sign Language Day, April 15th, 2024. Whereas in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, National American Sign Language is a problem affecting too many residents, including children, youth, and adults across our communities. And whereas statistics show that 357,000 of Canadians are deaf, while 3.21 million are hard of hearing. That's 1 out of every 25 Canadians will either be deaf or hard of hearing, whereas 95% of those families do not learn sign language. Some families experience children with deaf adults, CODA, where the child is hearing, whereas we all have a part to play in promoting healthy relationships in our schools, workplaces, and communities. And whereas building awareness and understanding of deaf and hard of hearing culture and promoting kindness and compassion in our relationships and communities will work towards ending barriers. And whereas we are working together to create opportunities and build capacity to promote components of healthy relationships in our schools, places of employment, and community through awareness, knowledge, and skill building. And whereas through strong community collaboration, we encourage everyone to spread kindness and lead the way by reaching out and speaking out, and visually show their support by recognizing National American Sign Language Day as the deaf and hard of hearing culture by learning American Sign Language.
Now therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim April 15th, 2024 as National American Sign Language Day in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? I think this is, I think it's great. I think this is the first time that we've had a proclamation for this. And it kind of brought back a memory for me. When we lived in Ottawa, my son started junior kindergarten, and the custodian at the school was deaf. And so Ryan was going there and coming home, and he was actually learning sign language at school through the custodian and with the teachers, because they wanted to be able to communicate
Yeah.
with him. And I don't know how much of it he retained, but over the course of that 6-8 months or a year that he was going to school there, he learned quite a bit, and enough to be able to communicate with the custodian at the time. And I think that what that tells me is the younger you are, the easier you can pick up on these things. So I mean, I think it'd be wonderful if they taught sign language in kindergarten as part of the curriculum. You know, it's even something I think that we can talk to our community services, something that we might be able to offer. I know that my business cards that I have are Braille stamped for people that happen to be blind. But, and also, Anne informed me before our meeting that our meetings, once they go up on our website, after a couple days, Anne?
Yeah, a couple days a week.
Yeah, once you go to view it, the captions are available. So people can actually go on there and they can read if they can't hear what's going on. So I think that's great. I think that our town, I don't know, since Ralph, when you were mayor, we've come a long ways in terms of what we provide to people, in terms of information and technology and the use of technology, and I think it's great. But there's no substitute for being able to sign if you can for people that are deaf. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. And Chad is here from the Hearing Life Victory Church.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you want to have a few words?
I teach sign language right now on usually Wednesday nights in St. Nicholas Hall. It's free. It gives more people access to free resources. Because if you go to NLAD, you're paying $1,000 per course, and there's 3 levels. So I want to be able to break down the barriers as fast as possible, because we are in need. We don't have enough interpreters to go around every doctor's appointment. Families are struggling with how to communicate with their sons and daughters. So it breaks my heart to see, I'm glad that this is actually done, because this is the first time Newfoundland has recognized Sign Language Day. We have never seen this before, and so I'm nervous as well, because I'm not a public speaker. But yeah, I think it's wonderful, and thank you for doing this.
Listen, you're welcome. And how are you enjoying living in Torbay, by the way?
I love Torbay. It's unique, better than St. John's. But we wish we had bus service, but
I know, well, listen, you know, we can't have everything.
we can't have everything now.
Oh, and congratulations, I know you got married this summer.
I know, it's my husband right here.
Congratulations.
Sorry I wasn't available to do your wedding, I really wanted to, but I couldn't. But that's all we can do. But we're gonna jump up now, we're gonna have a picture.
Yeah.
You coming up?
There we go.
One more.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, you don't have to hang around for the whole meeting. Just saying, can if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you. You staying?
We can stay one out, we're not doing nothing.
Well, I'm glad that you're staying. Thank you very much. All right, where am I? Presentations, none. Q&A, we got none. Mayor's report. I think I'll just give a brief update here in this space. Myself and Councillor Eppy took part last night in Lions Club Speak-a-thon or Speak Off or whatever it is. The name that I can't remember, but I can tell you this. There were 6 participants. They did a great job. And what kind of blew my mind a little bit was 3 of the speakers, English is not their first language. So there was one young lady there from Spain, another one from Ukraine, and another one from Germany. I think the lady from Spain and Germany are exchange students, and the young lady from Ukraine actually lives here in Torbay with her whole family, her dad, her mom, and I think her 2 brothers, maybe. And I had an opportunity to talk to them, and they love living in Torbay. So right now they're renting, and they're going to look at buying a house and living here permanently, which to me says a lot when you come from a place where they did to come and settle here and really fit in and enjoy it. I think that these interviews that I do with business magazines and stuff, and I always try and focus on what it is that our town has to offer. I don't try and dwell on what it is that we don't have, like public transit, but we work towards those things, and it really makes me proud to see the talent and the smart young people that we have here in the town. And it wasn't just those 3 individuals. The other 3 were exceptional as well. It was really hard to judge the competition. And the third young fellow that won he did a great job. So I wish them luck going forward in their provincial competition that they're going to do. And I think that, and I know that Councillor Eppy will probably talk about this later on. We did talk to the principal about finding ways that the town can engage with our young people, particularly at the high school, and get them involved in affairs of the town. So, I know that one of the speakers brought up last night the fact that we don't have any public transit here in Torbay. And to me, there's an opportunity there for us to leverage our young people to give us ideas and to potentially do some work around that for us as part of the school curriculum, as part of what I had talked about before, starting some kind of a youth committee of council. And because we did try years ago to have a youth council member, but it just was really difficult. And I think that a committee might be a better way to go, because now you got some numbers. So those exceptional young people that we want to attract here to sit around this table, to do the jobs after we're gone, and expose them to working on the issues that are in the town as young people with a vested interest. And I think that that's something that we're going to explore. I know Trina's going to bring it to her recreation committee, and Rhonda's already aware that we're going to bring that and see what we can do with it. I think it's a great idea, and it's I always said this before I got on council and while I've been here. If somebody has a good idea, tell us, because people expect us to have all the answers and all the ideas. But you know what? We're residents just like everybody else. Sometimes we're better informed on certain topics than they are, and sometimes we're not. There's a lot of people living in our town that are very smart and understand issues probably better than we do, and might have some insight and ideas. So, it was a great opportunity. It was the first time they'd done it since the pandemic has ended. They're going to be doing it again next year and moving forward. And I think it's a great thing that we should be doing. And I've judged other speaking competitions in the middle, in Juniper Ridge and even at the elementary school. You know, they do really, really, really good job, so. Anyway, I thank you for that. Trina, did you want to talk about that now?
If you don't mind, Mayor, I would appreciate that. That'd be great. I just, one of the things that, for my new business to be a little bit shorter now, I did want to thank the Torbay Alliance for that invitation. Mayor's job was to judge the speeches. Mine was to ask questions of the students. But it was incredible, and as we were sitting there, I thought, you know, what a great time to have a chat with the mayor about something that we both passionately were really excited about, getting youth engaged in council. So as the mayor was going to deliberate, I sat with the principal and had a conversation with the mayor's blessing. And we talked about how can we work together and how can we find ways to integrate the youth and the energy and the excitement and the interest to, you know, research all these amazing topics. One of the things that was also mentioned as well was how much wind we get here in Torbay and how amazing it would be if we had a few windmills. And I joked and I said, no, Mayor, that's a question you and I could get on. But, you know, it's important having conversations about, you know, looking after our environment, looking after, you know, we talked about inclusion and diversity and safety of women and all kinds of really great topics. So what we did was we started with a conversation, and Mayor and I, we worked together in, you know, speaking with the principal, and when I left, I called Councillor Manning and spoke with her last night. And we actually got an email out last night to the high school principal and director, Jen Martin, and we're coordinating already on working with the school in that way. So it's really exciting to see how an invitation for a couple of council members could not only turn into a fabulous event with the Lions Club in school, but also spring into us working together, having a conversation about how do we work with the school, and then the mayor and I tag teaming on starting that conversation, bringing in the chair of the committee and then the director, and things are already moving in a space to get a conversation happen there. So thank you, Mayor, for sharing that. It was truly spectacular. We have amazing young leaders in this community. And you know, I think I have a great pride when I go through town and look at all the cool stuff that we've been able to do. Imagine what it'd be like for these young people coming through having that same pride in their community, knowing they had a part in recommendations to council or, you know, making speeches and conversations. So really looking forward to seeing how that rolls out. And thank you, Mayor. It was a great event, and it was great to see you there. And it really, really was one of those things that, you know, makes your heart feel really good for being part of it in the community. Thanks
Right.
for the opportunity to share.
Okay, and also I want to thank you for moving on that right away, because too often, as is the case sometimes, we see a good opportunity or a good idea, and then we say we'll get to that tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes sometimes. So I'm glad that you jumped on it right away and started the process. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And you know what, that was it, right? When we were both there in the space, and we had the principal, and there was a few minutes for you guys to deliberate, I got to open up a conversation, and then we got to finish it off. It was really great teamwork, and like you said, if you see an opportunity, you know, let's take advantage of it. We're here to do good work, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. So thanks.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Okay. All righty. Business Rising Report. Still really big.
It's a work in progress.
Work in progress, so okay. I'll leave it alone until we gets it down to a couple of hundred pages. All right. Correspondence. We have a correspondence here from the Department of Transportation and Municipal Infrastructure Circular Construction Contract Award Letter Template. That just goes to Public Works.
It's just fairly standard, yeah. It's just for information purposes mostly.
Okay. And this is spec change request form, same thing, Sandy?
Yeah, all of those, yeah.
Oh, these are templates for sending out new stuff, is it?
Yeah, these are just circulars for adjustments and amendments and updates and things like that.
Okay, this one is the information regarding our contract project.
Mm-hmm.
Off to Public Works with that one.
6.3 is the approval to go to tender, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Isn't that what I said? Or did I leave that part out? Oh yeah, approval to go to tender. I should know, my name's on it. All right, we got a correspondence here from Windy Heights Farms about skidoos. Oh, this is the information they sent us after they were here last meeting. Okay, thank you. So we have that. It's nice that we got that information in case we need to grab something out of it to do a post. And for anybody that doesn't know, actually, this is a pretty good information session there. Great information about a farm and working on a farm and what the farm has to offer. So if you are looking at the council package, you can go and have a look at that. FCM correspondence, and this
Can I
is,
speak to that for 1 second?
sure, go ahead.
Thanks. This is communication that we've received from the Federation of Municipalities. I had time to participate in the World Forum conversations that were happening when they had the meetings out in British Columbia. When this came out, I thought this was really good for us to look at and share. Part of this is a toolkit, and it's got information in there with a resolution from council, and I would ask that maybe our CAO have a look at the resolution and see where and how it might fit from a town of Torbay perspective. But the idea here is to have a conversation about how do we increase money for infrastructure and building in the community, which would roll out and result in, increased abilities for housing and community development. And we really want to make sure that we're lobbying for a strong fiscal framework so that municipalities have the money that they need to do the work they need to do, especially around, the lack of funding that we have for infrastructure. So I would ask if we could, to get maybe Sandy, if you'd have a look at that and see where that may go, if it is something indeed that the town of Torbay would like to consider introducing as a decision of council. The other part of it, there's a draft letter there that can go to our member of parliament. And of course, FCM does a lot at the federal level, but again, these are toolkits and things that the Federation of Municipalities have put together to help member communities like Torbay have our voices heard and channel through about trying to get these things in place. So I just wanted to speak to it briefly to make sure that I think there is some action items there for us to think about. I'm not sure the appropriate committee for that to go through, but I'll leave it to Mayor and CAO to determine. But I think there's a couple actions there that might be of consideration for council. So thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to it.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a correspondence here from a resident that's living on Middle Trial and Pond Road, and it goes through here. Actually, the subject is urgent action needed, neglected service on Middle Trial and Pond Road. So we've received this correspondence, and we forwarded on to planning and public works. So can we, Sandy, can you formulate a response to send back to that resident based on the feedback from their?
Yeah, I've received feedback from both Julia and Brian on that, so it's fairly standard
Okay,
response there. We'll get back on that.
yeah. Alrighty.
Mayor, if I could. Yeah, I just want to mention that this has been an ongoing issue for
It is.
Yeah.
decades, seems. I dealt with this person and a few others in that area. But, it may be getting more crucial now, especially with the storms we're having in the winter. Because there's senior people now living in there, right? One time it was all cabins, but again, that was years ago. So I'm not sure, if Brian and Julia had time to review, just to see who's living in there now. I'm not sure even how many cabins are habitated now in the winter.
Right, I think there's at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And to your point, I remember, I guess, the last term of council before you became mayor, or maybe in our first term, we approved the power going in there, right?
Yes, exactly.
And there was some concern from residents at the time that by allowing power to go in there, that was going to be a slippery slope.
Mhm.
But we did it with the understanding that everybody that put the application in for power at the time understood that that was the service that was going in there, that was
That was it.
it. And I think that people have to realize that that is not a residential area.
No.
That the people that are living in there, I know some of them and I talk to them, and they understand the situation, and they're actually grateful that the town goes in there now after every snowfall and plows the road into the firefighter training center and the town pit. Because we never did that before.
No.
Before, we never ever looked at their place until, there was a need to go in there to the town pit or the fire training center. We plowed it on request, I guess. So it is a bit of a tangly thing. I'm sure Sandy will deal with it and.
Give a different perspective to it.
Right, but, you know, people need to understand that it's not a residential area.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
You know, there's nobody has an occupancy permit to live in there, so there's a lot of issues around it. You know, the people that I know live in there, they love it. They love that type of living, they love the isolation, they love to be able to be there out to the, in nature, but it does have it certainly has its drawbacks as well, right?
And without getting into any details, liability is an issue as well. So,
Right.
but I'll
Yes,
address that for
For
sure.
sure, yeah. Good.
Can I speak to that for a minute, please?
Sure.
Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Number one, if I could, I'd like to be aware, as the committee chair, of any response that's coming back from the committee. I wasn't aware that this was sent to the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee as of yet.
Well, Trina, it wasn't because it's not a committee issue, it's operational for staff to deal with. There's not
Okay,
a,
well,
right?
if I could ask that it be sent to our committee for conversation. I've already, I've received some correspondence as well from residents in there. And at the time, what I did was I directed them, after speaking with our director of planning, to submit information through the municipal plan review and the land use review that's ongoing right now through the planning department. I do think, Mayor, you're right, people are living in there. And I think that, you know, if we do have people in there, there needs to be a conversation of, you know, just because it was approved at one point for cabins, should it, and does it need to continue to be, and what does that mean for our municipal planning process? And I'm not weighing in either way, I'm just thinking that needs to be part of the discussion. And I also wanted to note that where we live on the Bolling line, when we were building our house here, friends of mine said, you know what, that's where my family had their cabins years ago, was where your house is right now. I know more than you do as you're building your house, because we have a family cabin in there. So just because it's always been a cabin area, doesn't mean if we're having a real wholesome conversation about developing the community, that that space might not make sense at some point to transition into something else. And I understood in the conversation and communication that I received from residents speaking on behalf of the people in there, that they were willing to put personal money up to, you know, outlook at some development. So I think there's a bigger discussion, and it's certainly not one for this evening in public council meeting. But I do think I'd like to see this on the agenda for infrastructure and public works. And I do think I'd like to, you know, ask that we have a broader, more wholesome discussion around this as we're going through our municipal planning review. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Your worship, on that, I'd like to see that come to planning and land use as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll bring
yeah.
that up.
If it goes to one, it should go to the other. Yeah.
Just put it on the agenda. 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely, and, yeah, I mean, my intent wasn't to dismiss this, but as it stands right now, CAO can respond to this from an operational standpoint, and council can take a look at it from a larger view. And that's what we should do.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. All righty, committees of council, committee of the whole minutes, March 11th, 2024. Could I get hang on, let me check, see if there's any motions in there. I don't see none. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Planning land use development. Who's the chair of that now? Councilor Pollard.
Would be me, sir.
All right. I know this is the first week since we changed up our committee, so
Thank you, your worship.
look.
First item relates to 585 and 597 Indian Meal Line. So I will read parts of this excerpt, so some of the details I will leave out. The town of Torbay is in receipt of an application proposing a multi-unit residential development on service to be located on approximately 5.5 hectares of land at 585 to 597 Indian Meal Line. The proposal involves the consolidation of 2 parcels of land and up to 49 dwelling units in total for condominium ownership. The town received 18 written responses to the public notice, as it was a discretionary use, and a detailed background report and land use impact assessment are attached for reference. The committee originally reviewed the file at its meeting of January 30th, 2024, requesting clarification around the existing wetland and stormwater management approach. The department followed up with the town's Infrastructure and Public Works Department, the Provincial Water Resources Division, and the proponent. Further detailed clarification was discussed at the March 13th meeting, and the committee is now prepared to table the application with council for decision as the following was confirmed. The proponent is not proposing any development in the wetland or the conservation area. The proponent has to commit to providing stormwater detention outside of the conservation and wetland limits and has to meet zero net runoff requirements based on current day engineering requirements and climate change data. The proponent is required to delineate the wetland and not place floodwater immediately into the wetland, but detain the water before release. The Provincial Department of Transportation and Works, as well as the town of Torbay, require that there is no downstream impact from stormwater. The developer shall propose such a system for review and approval by the town's consulting engineer, the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, to ensure fire life safety and public fire protection requirements can be met. The fire department also has a tanker truck available. Based on this, the committee concurs with the department in forwarding the application to the council with a recommendation for very specific conditional approval. Therefore, the following motion is tabled. Motion to conditionally approve application C 2023-046 for the proposed consolidation of property at 585 to 597 in the Meal Line to construct a phased and up to 49-unit residential condominium development in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 and the RLL land use zone table of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, subject to the very detailed conditions outlined above and in the accompanying background report. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
I just want to say that when this first came across committee's desk, I guess, or committee's eyes, and the Planning Land Use Development Department as well, we did have a lot of concerns in the area relating to water runoff and the whole discussion around the wetland. And as everyone knows, we had a wetland assessment done, or certainly in process of being finalized by Ducks Unlimited, and that wetland there is a significant wetland. So the proposal is now not to touch any of that from a development perspective. There are some questions raised by such as Newfoundland Power in terms of the number of units and whether or not they can actually provide overhead power versus underground power and all those things. So that they will all need to be addressed as well. But I think the reason the committee is bringing it forward now is that it has substantially changed from our first initial review of where it looked like it may be a severe encroachment into the wetland, the runoff, and especially down towards Skipper Landings area. And when the province came back with their requirement to ensure that there was no impact of stormwater runoff and downstream infrastructure, we also jumped up and said, yeah, well, the town has to have that as well. And certainly we did mention that up front as well, that, you know, the downstream infrastructure from our perspective also has to be ensured that is up to grade in order to carry anything that might come from this area. So having said all that, it looked like we could not really bring it forward to council for discussion and decision at this point in time, because other than that, all the essential conditions are met. Obviously, they still got to jump through, you know, some hoops or go through requirements that it takes to put this development there in that area. So.
Okay, other comment? Go ahead.
Mayor, can I speak up, please?
Just a second, Councillor Pepper?
Yeah, just to, I guess, reaffirm what Chair of the committee said, and I just want to thank Julia and her staff, because this has been on our books now for quite a while, and it's a unique, large development that I got to say is badly needed in our community. This type of development, especially if it's affordable for seniors and whatever families. So again, I think I wasn't around last term of council, but there was quite substantial funding spent in there, especially with the runoff. And there were, I'm sure, lessons learned. And we're going to treat this development and go through every step that's necessary. Just to again, go through the hoops and make sure we're solid before we come back and ask this. This is approval in principle. There's still work to be done, so hopefully we'll get back and it will be done.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Appley?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to be able to support this motion development tonight. There's been significant local residents outcry against the development. There is reason, and has been reason, and Councillor Jeffrey, you're right, there have been significant monies invested in addressing flooding and what has happened, in that region in particular. I do think that, for us as a council, there's an expectation of people who live in those homes in Forest Landing in that area, that if there are developments with multi-unit homes, that it could potentially impact the value of their homes. There's the issue that we have in there about, speeding and safety of children out on their bikes, and we are always getting calls and messages about requests for speed bumps and worried about, these motorized bikes and, what's happening in those areas. I think that, we definitely have to have, different types of homes in Torbay. I agree fully with Councillor Tapper. We do need to have a diversity in the homes in our community. But I do think that we need to do more community consultation, have more conversations about where and how that fits. I know, Julia, that you've been doing a lot of great work for the municipal plan, work that we're doing there. The residents, it was an outcry when this was first brought out, and the conversation was, listen, we were promised in this neighborhood to live a certain kind of lifestyle with executive homes. Our kids could go out there and play. Now we're talking about a significant development on top of that again, which is going to cause potentially more congestion and more speeding and more issues. I'm very grateful that committee and council have looked at the wetland impact, the zero net runoff. But I also think it's really important, approval in principle, as we've learned, doesn't always mean an approval to move forward. And, the question of raising expectations of giving an approval in principle for the developer to move further along, spend more money, and then say, well, you can't meet it, or you didn't meet it, or there's a reason why you can't move forward, then, is there a question of could that be resulting in legal battle? So for a number of different reasons tonight, I'm not going to support the motion. But I do want to tip my hat to committee for the comprehensive amount of work that has gone into committee and staff, for the amount of work that's gone into this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, as Councillor Tapper said, we do need developments in the town of Torbay. No matter what or where these developments happen, I do understand that everybody has, some ideas of whether it's good or not in their neighborhood. It's hard, and I do understand, and I feel for the residents that have spoken out against this project. But I also, from a town perspective, that again, we need some developments like this for our residents and people that are downsizing and people moving in as well. So again, it's always very tepid waters to go into as far as where the development versus the residents speaking out against, but I do think it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to go back to saying that I think that, there were, as I did mention at the very beginning of this, there was a first proposal and a significantly revised proposal, and we took just about everything that we could have into consideration for this, and I think the council also has the responsibility to ensure that the best interests of the town as a whole are taking place in terms of growth and the need for additional housing in the area. The separation from where it is physically from the Forest River area, and that is it runs off on Indian Meal Line, and we were, I think, pleasantly surprised when they came back and then took essentially the majority, if not all, the environmental concerns out of it. I mean, you never really know at the end of the day, no matter where you go, no matter what you do with anything from a growth perspective. But I think this was, and I had the conversation at committee that, you know, we're at this now and we really have the onus to bring it back, and it's not a committee decision to say yes or no to it. We brought it back with as much positive information as we could related to it and bring it forward for recommendation.
Okay. I was going to have just a brief comment, and as with regards to this development, but any development, and I talk to people about this all the time. Just because either a bad project or a bad implementation of a project, in my opinion, for the Skipper's Landing area in Forest Landing, where they did experience flooding, was prior to the new regulations that the town has in place now, with zero net runoff and making sure that we look after downstream and upstream water and make sure that there's no more water comes out of development after it's developed than it was prior. And I think that doesn't just go for this particular development, it's for any development in our town. Climate change is a real thing that we have to deal with. We went and redid all of our calculations for climate change numbers for the 100-year storm and all this kind of stuff, to make sure that when we do make a decision on any development, whether it's 49 units, it's 4 units, or it's 1, that we make sure that you are not having an impact on your neighbor. And, you know, this type of development right now, multi-unit, condo style, hopefully going to be affordable enough for some of our seniors in our town to potentially downsize and live in. We have to look after the people that built this town before we got here and now are ready to downsize. I am sick and tired of looking at people, seniors that I talk to, come to me, you know, telling me that they're moving out of here to go live in St. John's or go live somewhere else because there's nowhere here for them to live. And that breaks my heart. They are the people that worked and started this town and built it and did everything. So I think that we owe it to everybody, as Councillor Pollard said, to look at an overall town approach. And I think that's where our mind is. We do have our planning tables and our review underway. If people want to provide input to that, now is the time, and it's always the time, to let us know what your feelings are, and we can move forward with it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that about our developments in general. Thank you. Back to the chair.
That's it, George. Thank you.
Call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed. Thanks, ma'am.
Okay, carried. Thank you.
Item number 2 is a Torbay Development Regulation Amendment to RMD Land Use Zone, and it comes from a conversation we actually had at the Committee of the Whole from for semi-serviced infill lots, private well and public sewer, and an existing public road with existing services. So we're in receipt of a number of development applications for single dwellings on an infill lot in a serviced area of town. So we want to consider an amendment to the residential infill and residential medium density use zone table. So the town may consider the development of a single dwelling or single dwelling with subsidiary apartment on a semi-serviced infill lot with municipal water connection and on a private well, where the infill lot already exists in a residential zone, fronts onto an existing municipally serviced street, meets all standards for a fully serviced lot, and cannot meet the lot area standard or frontage standard, or both of those standards for a semi-serviced infill lot due to supply constraints in the municipal water supply. Then Service NL and Council shall set the minimum lot area and frontage standard for the infill lot. This will require a development regulation amendment, including public consultation. Therefore, the following motion is tabled. Motion to proceed with the drafting of amendment documents and the associated public consultation process in order to amend the RMD and RI land use zone tables by, number one, adding an asterisk to the minimum required frontage and lot area standards for a semi-serviced single dwelling in the development standard table, asterisk F in the RMD zone, and asterisk H in the RI zone. And two, adding the definition of the asterisks underneath the RMD and the RI development standard table below the last entry in alphabetical order as follows. So if you look at these, there'll be everything up to F and H in respective land use zone as asterisks already. So we're just adding additional ones with this information in. So F for the RMD and H for the RI land use zones. Where an existing infill lot fronts onto an existing municipally serviced street that meets all development standards for a fully serviced lot, and where that infill lot cannot be serviced by municipal water due to supply constraints, and where that infill lot cannot meet the lot area or frontage standard, or both of those standards for a semi-serviced lot on a private well of municipal sewer, then the minimum lot area and minimum frontage standards shall be set by Service NL and Council. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
My understanding when we spoke, thank you. My understanding when we spoke about this was that the minimum were going to be identified and noted and not left to discretion. Can someone speak to that for me, please? Because for me, it's really important that we're not having a conversation where person A can do and person B can't do. So we need to make sure this is equal and fair. And it was my understanding that we were going to have those numbers sorted before this motion came forward.
Do you want to speak to that, Tony, or Julie?
Yeah, well, I was just in the process of thinking whether I will speak to it or I'll speak to it, and if I'm not correct in what I'm saying, then I'll let Julie fill in the exact details. The rationale behind, I guess not, and we did, as a matter of fact, I was going to mention that when I finished, that you had requested that there be minimum measurement requirements associated with it for that very reason, but each lot that we speak about in these situations is pretty unique, and the lot frontage and sizes may not be the only components of the ability to go ahead with this or not, and the decision to go ahead or not really will rest with the province, and it will be the province's final determination as to whether or not a lot is acceptable or not, and not necessarily the towns, because they're going to look at other things that Water Resources Division would look at, and not necessarily the front sizes. So we can't really put a size on it, because we might have, and I'm just throwing these numbers out, you might have a 50-foot lot that someone will say yes to, the province say yes to, and you might have a 60-foot lot that the province might say no to, only because we're dealing with wells and not necessarily all piped infrastructure. So as a town, we didn't see that we could put a requirement that would make it anything but more restricting on the property owners to it. We probably err by your fear by putting constraints in rather than letting the province decide what or cannot go on residential infill lot. Would that make sense to you?
Okay, thank you. Any
Mayor
other
to
questions?
Julia.
Julia? Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, like the phrasing in that motion, where it actually says where the infill lot meets all development standards for a fully serviced lot, but cannot meet the frontage and lot area requirements. So by the way that's phrased is that the absolute minimum, like it cannot go any lower than the standards that are specified for a fully serviced lot, which is the absolute minimum that we can consider, which is 555 square meters for lot area and 18.2 meters frontage. So the way this is phrased, it reflects that. numeric values can change, so that's why it's phrased this way, but it's reflected in that phrasing. And ultimately, right now, this is the motion to proceed with this process. The final wording of the amendment also will be tabled once it has gone through the public consultation process and once council reviews it for adoption. So this is mainly the proposed motion, well, it's not the proposed motion, but it's the proposed wording for that amendment.
Okay. All right. So, I guess to sum that up, through the public process, if we learn additional information that requires us to put something else in there, in the amendment, we would do it at that time. Because it'll be all compiled for council, and then council make a decision. Okay, thank you.
Can I make it?
Go ahead.
I just briefly say that, you know, this is another example of where we are. We don't have water, right? And we're nitpicking our regulations just to get 1 or 2 or 5 lots approved. So we're in dire need, and we had a meeting today, and we emphasized that. But this just is an example of where we are.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
I
Rhonda?
too would like to speak. And I've had a couple actually reach out who have parcels of land, but because there's no water, they're stuck, not knowing what to go, and, you know, I know they've been talking to planning and, you know, trying to figure things out. So to me, this gives those people the option and a better opportunity for the town to really look at it and determine, you know, is this going to be suitable, and can we use our land, can we get building on it type thing. So I'm in agreement with this because I think it opens it up for more residents when it gets out there, whereas their hands are tied as it stands now. So
Right.
I'm happy to see something like this coming forward to open it up and start the groundwork once again for newer and better
Any other
down the
comment?
road.
Can I ask for the amendment
Pardon?
for the minimum lot allowance to be included?
It's all,
That was the,
Trina, it is included.
yeah, but the language specifically of it in there, because that's what we talked about, and that's what I understood it, would be in there. The language now is that it's implied, and the statement the director shared was that could change, and if it does change, then it would require a motion to change it if the minimum lot amount changes. But if we adopt the motion as it's presented, and there's a change to the minimum lot requirement, then we haven't got to make any changes here. That's the crux of where I'm going to be able to vote yes or no. So I'm just curious to ask the question, can we make the amendment to have the minimum lot allowance in here now, or not? I'm wondering if that's possible.
I understand what you're saying, but the explanation that we just got is that there is a minimum amount for a fully serviced lot. It's 560 square meters, right? 555 square meters. That is the minimum that we can go. If a lot is less than that, we can't consider it. So if it doesn't meet the requirements for a fully serviced lot, we would not pass it on to Service Newfoundland for potential approval. So the numbers are there because there is a minimum requirement for a fully serviced lot. So I don't think that we need to spell it out. If we do, it's not gonna change anything because this is not a decision to adopt it. It's a decision to go forward with the public consultation to come up with what the new policy is gonna be. And if at that time, if we know exactly what the numbers are gonna be, then maybe we can put them in. That make sense?
Was that from in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking for the specific number to be included is that's what I understood it would be, and like I said, if this motion comes as is, then if the other elements change, there's no harm in putting it in, and saying in brackets, this is what it is for the motion right now, because that was part of the discussion. You know, if it comes back and there's something changed, we'll cross that bridge at the time. But for me to vote in favor, I'd like to see the minimum lot size be added to the motion. So again, council can do as it wishes, I just would ask that be considered as an amendment. But if not, that's fine too. Thanks.
Except that if we put a number in there, and we change this, and we happen to change the town plan at some point for any reason, because the number is written in the town plan, which is the accepted document to which this refers, if we put a number in a motion, and we happen to change the town plan, then this motion has to come back to the table to change, because it's not directly related to the town plan, right?
Exactly.
Whereas if it moves with the town plan, then it stays with the town plan. I would leave it out myself, but, because it's references in the town plan now to the minimum size.
Right.
And so, I mean, we can vote on that shortly, but I just wanted to make sure that
Councillor Pollard, to that point, the intent of this motion tonight, though, is for for consideration with what the current minimum size lot allocation is. So what I'm saying is, if you're absolutely right, if it was in the municipal plan and that were to change, then we would have to come back and reconsider if this is something that would be feasible based on the changes being made in the plan. So I'm of the opinion that if we're gonna vote tonight on this, and the minimum size lot that we discussed was, as the director shared, then if we're taking a decision right now, we know that decision is based on that minimum lot size, and the discussion will be around that. If that were to change, that would come back in the next motion to adopt the changes. But I'm not comfortable leaving the language as it is, and then it changing, and then someone coming back and saying, but Councillor Appleby, you voted for that on March 19th, 2024, and it was changed, so it's too bad.
All right.
That's where I'm asking the question, but it's okay.
Councillor Appleby, do you want to make an amendment?
Yes, that's, I guess what I'm asking, if we could
Go
make
ahead.
a friendly amendment to include the minimum size of the lot in the motion as presented.
Okay.
please.
Do we got a seconder? No seconder, so the motion fails. All right, we'll call a question on this one.
Tim,
I'll-
before they go, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
make sure that to Councillor Mannion's point there, and make sure we understand that it's for where services already exist. So
Right.
anyone's got vacant land or anything that doesn't have services run by, doesn't enter into that discussion.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Carried. Thank you.
And the last motion is to accept the permit listings for week ending March 13th, 2024. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Worship.
Alrighty, admin and HR. Councillor Manning,
Okay.
did I skip one? No, I didn't.
No,
Carry on.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, we had our meeting on March the 13th, and the minutes are there. The recruitment and selection section there. It's all there. We have, I'm just trying to read this through now. Interviews on the go, interviews still being carried, and, well, second round interviews on the Director of Corporate Services and the Accounts Receivable Assessment and Procurement Administrator. There's checks being made there, so the offer will be made very shortly. And the Capital Asset Mapping Technologist. Everything is being reviewed there now. Wait, no, that's wrong. Okay, yeah, the Director of HR along with the CAO and members of the committee are reviewing the current organizational structure to determine which department is positioned best aligns with. So a further update will be provided to all members of council once this is available. And this should be coming very shortly. Administrative Assistant, Planning and Development, has been filled. Alison, thank you. And she started on March 19th. So we certainly welcome Alison aboard. And the Fire Prevention Officer with the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department. Actually, the offer was made, and Ray Clark has accepted the position. And, well, certainly Ray has been doing that position on a voluntary basis, and he was the candidate who got the position there at the end. So welcome aboard, Ray. And the summer 2024 Summer Day Camp. The recruitment and selection process is underway, and a complete listing of all positions has been posted on our town website as well as on Career Beacon, so a further update will be provided once available. Policies and procedures, they're all listed there, and these are all being worked on, and there will be motions required on some of them, so that'll come forward to council as they are completed. Okay, and other items are there, and I'm not sure if there's any questions on any of those. And that would pretty
Any
much,
questions?
thank you.
No? Okay. Thank you, Councilor Manning. Corporate Services, Councilor Goss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met on March 19th. Item number 1, regular payroll for 58 employees for the 2-week period ending March 13th, 2024, totaled $141,241.23. Accounts payable for the 2-week period ended March 13th, 2024, invoices in the amount of $473,987.57 were processed. Here are the following invoices for council approval. The following 19 operating invoices totaling $377,626.58 are presented for approval. So moved.
Second.
Moved in and seconded. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
We also have some motions. Motion 1 is updated applications for low-income property tax reduction and GIS. As per committee of the whole meeting dated March 11th, 2024, council agreed that the town issue property tax reductions to eligible residents as long as required documentation is received within the current tax year. So the motion resolved that the town of Torbay approve and adopt the revised application for 20% low-income property and tax reduction, and the revised application for property owners in receipt of GIS application for 25% property tax application, as presented. So moved.
Second.
Moved in seconded. Comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Motion 2 is a revised procurement policy. Town of Torbay, section 13.2, request for bids, process A. Resolved that the Town of Torbay approve and adopt the revised Town of Torbay procurement policy in relation to section 13.2 of the policy to increase the minimum purchase threshold amount from $250 to $500 as presented. So moved.
Second.
Moved in seconded. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And motion 3 is for the Northeast Eagles U15 team for the provincial tournament donation request. It was received from the Northeast Eagles under 15 hockey team to assist with costs of hosting the provincial tournament at the Jack Byrne Arena from April 4th to the 6th. Many of the youth from the town of Torbay will be participating in the tournament. The committee discussed the town's continued support for young athletes from the town in such events. So the motion is in accordance with the town's donation policy. The committee recommends a donation of $200 to the Northeast Eagles under-15 team to assist with the cost of hosting this provincial tournament. So moved.
Second.
Moved in seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And the minutes are there for the rest of, for anybody's questions. If there's any questions, throw them forward. If not, that ends my report.
Okay, anybody have any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Economic Development, Tourism, History and Culture. Councillor Tepper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a couple of reports there. The first one, the Torbay Museum Advisory Committee minutes are included. Just want to highlight a couple of things from that. You notice on the first page, we are short a couple of people for the committee, and we had a couple of observers sit in. Mr. Mike Byrne and Mr. Joe Carroll. Of course, Mike is a former councillor, so it's good to see him staying active. So we had a great meeting, and hopefully they liked what they saw, and we're going to confirm.
Prospective candidates, are they?
Exactly. Really good candidates, actually. A couple of other things just to mention. I don't know if some of the old-timers around this table may remember the May bush
Yeah.
during the month of May. Rhonda do.
Yep.
You remember that, Sandy?
No.
I've got a clue, have you?
I know it's about May snow.
No.
Well, you're going to learn about it.
I'm about to learn, yeah.
During the month
I was
of
glad
May.
to read that,
Yeah,
because I grew up next, family always did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a few people in Torbay that do this. But it's going to be interesting and fun to learn, I think. And we'll have to bring you over, Sandy, to give you
Absolutely.
a first-hand account.
I'm all in.
Yeah, good. And you'll notice 6.5, we had a little bit of discussion for the History House to acquire a liquor license. And we had a discussion, and there's pros and cons, of course. But the committee is leaning towards not having one because it is a hassle, and I think we're going to try to avoid that hassle. So that's that one. The other.
So can I ask you a question? about that?
Sorry, yeah.
So, but we could always get a special event license.
Oh, yes.
We're doing something
Yeah,
there, right?
oh, yeah, if we had,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. And then there's the Economic Development Tourism Committee update for committees. Mostly information. A lot of we touched base on it before. So if there's any questions on either of the report, I'll be happy to answer.
Now that you mentioned it, we will invite Kerry Murray as our Economic Development Officer to his
Yes,
first
indeed.
council meeting. Hopefully not his last.
He's still here.
He's still here. Welcome, Kerry. All right, you finished?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Can I ask one question?
Yep.
We had a conversation a while back about the community services and recreation, policy around liquor.
Mhm.
I'm wondering, is that a town umbrella, policy, or could we look at it that way? Because then it will be open for the History House and whatever else we need. We talked about risk, we talked about what would happen if, somebody was served and have an external person come in to do that, and then making sure that people are cut off appropriately, and that we've considered that. I'm wondering if that should be a blanket conversation across the town. Sandy, I don't know where that would be directed or how that would be done, but the question that was raised here about the liquor license for, the History House, then that raises, well, should there be a liquor license for the fire department, or is there anyone else or anywhere else? I think it's a sensible question we're looking at. Risk and the employees and safeties, and maybe having some sort of a conversation about how do we do that as an organization. So, and maybe it's I'm not sure which committee you have, but I think it might be something we should look at, because I do think, there are different events at different venues and spaces through the organization. It would be nice to have a consistent approach.
Yeah,
Just toss my ideas about.
my understanding is that it is facility specific, but Jen, you've done some research in this area. So.
Yeah, the policy we adopted is a town-wide policy. So any facility that falls under a town, we'd have to go by that policy. And there's also some rules around a municipality having more than one liquor license. So we'd have to look into that too if it was to be explored further, I guess.
Right, so to make matters easy, they decided they weren't gonna do it. But we can get a special event license if the requirement's there for any of our facilities.
Exactly.
Right, okay. That answer your question, Councillor Appleby?
Yeah, that answers my question, because I just wanted to understand, you know, if we're protected at under one part of the policy, I want to make sure we're protected under all parts of the policy.
Okay.
If that's a town-wide policy, then that makes sure that we know how we're supposed to handle liquor and make sure that, you know, no matter where the event is happening, that the town and residents are protected, so that's excellent.
Okay,
Thank you for clarifying that.
All right.
Appreciate it.
thank you. All righty, we're over to Recreation and Community Services. Councillor Manning, you're up again. You got any motions?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
sorry. Other than that, I would have been quicker. So Tuesday, March 2nd, we had our meeting, and the minutes are there certainly. First section is program and events, which are listed. The motions fall into the facilities, and it's concerning the Torbay Common Gate.
Okay.
I'm just going to read this very briefly. The committee discussed the gate at Torbay Commons, which is a current action item outstanding. As per RES-410-2021, the gate is due to start being closed in the night time after March 31st. The committee is recommending the gate be left open all year round for operational purposes and due to safety concerns as per the motions below. And that was the big discussion, our safety concerns. Director Martin, like, she brought up the fact that when the gates closed, people are gonna get into the common area, irregardless if they want to or not. But the big thing is the safety issue, in that anyone down there that is in around the area and something happens to them, and we need, say, the ambulance or the police or whatever to come down, the gate is locked. It would be a time-consuming thing and a safety issue. So the committee thought, let's look at this, because it's due to start up the end of this month. And we just thought, because of the safety issue, let's do it. We're going to have the enforcement officers and streams shortly too, that can do checks throughout, you know, for any disturbances and such, right?
Okay.
Councillor Appleby, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything to that?
Did you make a motion? You did.
No, not yet.
You did, and I'm gonna second it for now.
Well, you're supposed
Sorry.
to make a motion before you start
See?
talking about it.
I
Motion
will
is,
second
and
it.
I'm going to put the motion out.
that's my fault.
Thank you.
I should have,
I must have been sounding good, so if you forgot to.
worried.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
wonderful. I agreed with everything you said.
Motion 1, the committee recommends rescinding motion 410-2021. So moved.
Second.
Okay, now you can talk about, we heard.
Okay,
reasons.
sorry.
Anybody else have any other comment?
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay, motion 2. The committee recommends that the Torbay Common entrance gate be left open year-round unless special circumstances required it to be closed. So moved.
So moved. And you've already explained everything.
Yes.
Second.
Anybody have any other question, any other comment now?
Do we have the definition of the special circumstances? Jen,
Question?
could we speak to that, please?
There's no definition. I can come up with one, but it's more along the lines of if there was an emergency, or if the area was unsafe, we'd have to close it off to the public, something along those lines.
Could we revisit, just having those special circumstances identified, so that it's clear that we know what those special circumstances would be? So safety sounds to be the big special circumstance. But is there anything else, just so that we're clear before we vote?
I would think that any circumstance that the CAO or the director deemed necessary would be reason to close the gate. It's an operational decision left to the staff to decide, right?
You could say as determined by the CAO and director.
Right.
We could add that.
The problem with that the reason I'm flagging it is that people are making plans and they're in the community, they're going down to spend time with their family at the splash pad, or if they're going down and hang out, their kids are going down and hang out at the bike park there. You know what, how do they know that the special circumstance is happening and that we're not getting calls from residents going, hold on now, you're taking our access from the common? So the reason I'm asking the question, I think that if we had criteria, safety is one of them. I mean, Sandy, there will be, you know, I think just circumstances like that. So is there anything else that comes to mind other than safety that would be a reason to close it down? Or how would we let people know in advance if we were going to? I think that's what I'm trying to get at. So we don't get angry residents calling us going, can't just pick and choose when you close it.
If I can, you know, as far as what we do with that gate when it's deemed necessary, seems to me that it's going to be some kind of emergency situation that we have to close it. And at that point, if it does come to that point, then it will be made as an operational decision, and we will use our social media and everything else to get it out as quickly as possible. If somebody is coming to the splash pad, for example, they will understand, I'm sure, if something comes up that it's an emergency, that we have to close the gate. And again, as far as social media goes, we will make sure we get it out there.
Exactly, yeah.
Really, our motion is to leave the gate open year-round. And so that's fine. If it's closed for a reason, not because someone decided they wanted to.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
Can I just
go ahead, Ralph.
comment briefly? We've had this discussion before. So what is the status of municipal enforcement? Do we have?
I read somewhere that the RFP is
close.
Yeah, the RFP, and Julia can add to this, but the RFP is nearly finalised. We've been back and forth with the town of Portugal Cove St. Philip, so we're almost there. So we're in that process. Julia?
Yeah, we've had one back and forth. So right now, Portugal Cove St. Phillips has the draft, and we're waiting for that to come back one more time. And I'd say we put the finishing touches on, and then we're ready to go out.
The good news in that is that we have been going back and forth because we want to make sure we're getting it right. So I'd rather be thorough than rushed, but we are very close now to having that prepared.
Okay, thank you. Back to the chair.
Okay, so we're,
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
okay. And the rest of the report is there, so if there's any questions, certainly ask away.
Can I speak to the community safety part of it?
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks. We had a conversation around community safety awareness, and I'm talking about, you know, civility, inclusion. We talked a lot about that actually in the community meeting through the camps and the different things that we do.
Yep.
We talked about, you know, training and awareness. But we also talked about, you know, working with community partners. The RNC has a community services department or branch. And what they do is they'll actually come into the community and they can give presentations about, you know, what happens if you know, cause harm to someone. And if, you know, we have situations where in some schools right now there's conflict and things happening. So, you know, we can invite them into Torbay Common and bring the public in and say, listen, once you're of a certain age, I believe the age is 12, if you're engaging in, you know, harmful behaviors, then you can be charged. And I think community awareness and education may help with some of those things. We also talked about, you know, the Lions Club has Lions Quest, Red Cross has a program around, you know, I forget what it's called, it hurts, no more hurt. Can't remember off the top of my head now, but the first slate, making sure, you know, we're looking at inclusion and being respectful of people. So it was a really great conversation. We're really looking forward to having that lens in events and planning and what we're doing moving forward, working with our community partners to make our community a more inclusive, safe space. So I just want to thank Chair Manning and our director for their enthusiasm and excitement to work in this space and find opportunities where we can work with partners to make safer spaces in the community. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
That it?
That's
All
it.
right. Thank you very much. Now, liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress, I don't have any update. We do have a meeting coming up in June in Summerside. Take myself, Sandy, or whatever. Okay. Intergovernmental affairs, I got a couple updates here. So, myself, CAO, Councillor Tapper and Pollard met with MP Thompson on, trying to figure out what day that was.
Last week or the week before?
It was last week, one day, wasn't it?
Last, it was, yeah, because it's since I came
Tuesday,
back.
last Tuesday.
Yeah, early last week, yeah.
And to talk about a couple of things. One was our Housing Accelerator Fund application that did not get approved. And we had a lengthy discussion about that with her. It appears that most of the focus for that fund was on larger cities that have capacity to be able to build 4,000 units, not something that, similar to the application that we did, although we did argue that the number of units that we were adding to the system through our application was more than the city of Mount Pearl, so in bare numbers. However, I did also mention to her, and I will mention this to staff now too as well, that the next time that we go to apply on one of these large federal programs, let's talk to her first and see what the chances are of us getting approved if the focus is going to be not on municipalities our size. Let us not waste our time and our effort to apply on programs that we know we're not going to get. So, but that doesn't mean that sometimes that we shouldn't apply regardless of that. But at least let's have a conversation with her beforehand. She might have some inside knowledge or advice to be able to give us to go forward. Because we don't have time to be wasting our money and our resources and our time of our staff to be putting together these awesome proposals for no reason. So that's one thing. The other thing we talked to her about is our current water supply situation. You know, we had a good discussion with her. She advised us to follow the process and arranged a meeting for us with a representative from the Federal Department of Transport, which we had today. Myself, CAO, Councillor Tapper, and Councillor Pollard. We met with the representative today, send her all the information around the contamination at the airport, the contamination in the surface water, in the groundwater, the fact that South Pound was taken out of watershed protection by the province, we were told that we cannot use it. The fact that we are developing or looking at developing or spent considerable amount of money on the proposed Great Pond water supply. I think that we expressed in no uncertain terms that we did not create the contamination, that the federal government did it, that we are looking for reparations and help to develop a new water supply to replace the one that they contaminated. And after our meeting, CAO forwarded all the information that we had, our package, to her to share with other department officials in other departments, with housing, with environment, with whoever. So that's where we are. I think that we're doing the right thing by following that process. I think this is actually the first time that we've ever had a discussion with some actual official from the federal government on our water supply contamination and where we go from there. So I mentioned to her today that I consider this a kickoff meeting, not a one-off that we'll have that meeting and we'll never hear from anybody again. we'll be following up and hopefully on a regular basis and creating the paper trail of our inquiries and where it is that we want to go to get the answer that we're looking for, or answer that we're not looking for, but we're going to look for answers. And that's where we're to. Do you have anything you want to add?
I'll just get a quick question, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, so I know that there will be future meetings, I hope so anyway. Did we set any kind of date that we'd like them to try to get back to us, or, you know, just to force the issue a bit?
I think that she was going to go away, look at the information that we have, talk to her colleagues in other federal government departments. She's going to circle back around with MP Thompson, because we have to keep her in the loop as well, and then arrange a follow-up meeting with us to talk about where they went from there. And in the meantime, we will be...
We're staying on top of that, yeah, absolutely.
We'll stay following up. Are we ready for an update? Can you give us an update? That type of thing.
Yeah, in fairness, the mayor did ask for a follow-up meeting, but she said she wanted to review the material first, and which is fair, but we will be holding her to that.
Great, thank you.
I want to get to the point where they say, you cannot take yes for an answer. So, okay. Did Ralph or you, Tony, have anything you want to add?
Yeah, just on the meeting with MP Thompson, and we talked about this, you know, she kept repeating, follow the process, follow the I'm not sure if that was like a subtle a reminder or, you know, a nudge to follow the process and you'll get something.
Right.
You know, but we'll follow the process.
You know.
And, you know, as far as we could take it. And again, we took another step today, and that was interesting. Again, for the first time, we met with somebody new, you know. So, you know, it's a start. It's gonna be a long road, but it's a start.
Listen, it's an issue that for us is not gonna go away.
Yeah,
That we have to move forward on it, we have to work on it, we're gonna have to do whatever it is that we can. And it's just not gonna go away. And I told her, I said, we're not gonna go away. We're coming back.
We also tried to impress on her that they were trying to sort of go through the existing programs and how we fit into the existing programs. So, and Sandy rightfully spoke up and said, well, this is not about existing programs, it's about a liability issue and unique case scenario. So we're not looking for the share of the, you know, the cost funding programs. We're looking for restitution or whatever it is. So I think last gone off, she got that message, and hopefully she'll take it back to her counterparts. And the mayor did ask for, as Sandy had noted to it, they did ask for a time frame, and she was kind of, I'll say wishy-washy on that, and knowing that she's got another group that she has to report to, and she's not sure what their time frames are. So from our perspective, I guess it's best we have to stay on top of MP Thompson to keep pushing that envelope, make sure we get the information back to us. So.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound all doomy gloomy. Like, I'm really happy that that Joanne Thompson met with us and talked about those programs and set up that meeting with those officials for us. And, you know, we'll continue to go back through her, because that is the process, to arrange another meeting or to keep the questions going at the federal government level. And, you know, it's, I think that we'll just continue to do that, and we'll report back to council. And, you know, we'll go through the process, see what happens. But I think it's positive that we met with her, and you know, that lady that we met today, I thank her for meeting with us. It was, you know, it's the first time that we actually got to speak to somebody that is gonna hopefully move our information along to somebody who's a decision maker. And we'll get there from there. What's the other thing? Oh, yes. Oh, and I also, I did copy our email to our MHA, Jody Wall, to let him know that we were having that meeting with MP Thompson. And I will communicate with him that we did meet officials from Transport Canada, and hopefully get him to start making some inquiries at the provincial level to see if we can get some support from the province for what it is that we want to do. So we'll follow up with him. One other thing on the municipal level, on the 26th of the month, next week, I guess, we're gonna have one of our regional mayors and deputy mayors meetings. And I guess too, one of the points that was brought up during the recreation here about community safety awareness, kind of in that vein, and I'll share with you that I plan to bring this to my mayor's meeting next week, is that I would like for our towns as a group do something together, and in terms of combating bullying. I want to talk to them next week about that. I want to start something on a regional level, and we can probably call it a mayor's task force on bullying or something like that. When you do that, it adds a certain importance to it. When if we could get 6 mayors from our region to put their names to this thing and work towards it. And I would like to I'm gonna propose to them about how we could go forward with that. I'll talk to council as well and staff and figure out if there's ways that our towns can work together, have a public meeting, do something meaningful, because I am sick and tired of hearing about bullying in our facilities, at our schools, in the town in general, and that nothing ever seems to get done about it. So I think that if I don't do anything else for the term of my council, and forever, however long I'm here, that if I can start this and get this thing moving, that I'll be happy. And I think it's a good initiative and something that we can work towards as the entire Killy Coast area. And so I just wanted to share with you, I was planning on bringing that next week and see where it goes.
Could be a really good way to kick off the youth engagement that you and Councillor Appleby spoke about earlier.
Absolutely. Everything.
Really good opportunity there.
Everything ties together.
Yeah.
You get some young people in on that, and you know, it's and seniors too, because there's seniors bullying that happens. Like, bullying is a scourge, and we gotta find ways that we can combat it, and that is something that I got my mind set on now. And anybody knows me, but I guess my mindset on this, I don't let it go. I'm like a dog with a bone. But that's my plan. Where am I? Jack Byrne Regional. Councilor Manning, you got an update? How was your first meeting?
Yeah. It was good, interesting. No, I don't have an update.
I heard you wait.
Yes, it was a good meeting, and scheduling the next one, so I'll let Councillor Powell speak to it more so to me, because it's still a learning process for me, the whole concept, actually. Yeah.
Perfect.
We had it on meeting on the 7th. It was interesting. Yeah, I was never able to get 2 siblings looking straight at you from the other side of the table. Right? So, I mean, it kind of makes this interesting in every respect.
I have family backup.
You have family backup, yeah, that's right. I have a set of the partnership financial statements to be tabled here. Not much detail in that other than the asset itself, really, in terms of the building. So I'll pass it on to Anne for polling for the audit. I don't know if I spoke to the financial statements before, so I'll just briefly do it again now. On a very high note, it was, you know, a relatively successful year. I mean, we had a small profit, I guess, which is always great. Our revenues were up by about $90,000, and our expenses were up by about 97. So it put us, I guess, in a net loss position there of about 6 compared to the last year. I guess this is comparative to last year, up 90 and up 97. So we made income from operations about $18,000 compared to $23,000 last year. After depreciation, there was a loss of $7,000 as opposed to a small profit of $9,300 last year. I think the thing that sticks out in my mind really is the cash position deteriorated significantly for a number of reasons. Mainly, I guess, because of we now, as Jack Byrne Arena never did before, actually financed and purchased some capital assets themselves rather than put that burden back on the town. So that obviously takes some cash. And a lot of our operating expenses went up, and it's not unique to Jack Byrne. I think it's the way towns are, and it highlighted to me just the whole need to concentrate on the age of our equipment and our infrastructure deficit in terms of our funding. But our repairs and maintenance for some items up by $50,000 over the year, which is quite significant for an operation the size of Jack Byrne Arena. And so we did ask that we identify that, or that the arena identify all the, I'll say, depreciable assets or high valued assets, I guess, that would require maintenance and what their life cycle looks like, so we can start putting some dollar values around that. But as of right now, we're projecting that we're gonna be somewhere in the same area, $20,000, $25,000 profit for the year, this year. I would think that the cash position should increase a little because of that, but it's still a tight line, and it's very event centered, and if someone cancels and we lose one of the big events, then it puts the arena in terms of reliance from the towns back on the board again, type thing. So, but we're trying to move away from that by trying to get a handle on the assets and the asset management, and see what we can do then moving forward from a fee and rate structure perspective. But other than that, that's where I am, and I'll keep you updated as time goes on.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
We had discussed and signed off when we did the agreement with the arena, that there would be an annual budget submitted to council, so that we could have a conversation about what that looks like, what money they have to put away for the future when it comes to budgeting. I know that this is something that's really important, especially from a risk perspective for the municipality, because we have 56% of the risk that comes out of those funding conversations. I'm really happy to hear, Councillor Collard, that you're having a conversation about costs and asset management and planning and making sure that stuff is being looked at. But I just wanted to remind our representatives that it says in the agreement that needs to be provided to council, and if it's not provided to council in advance, then council can look at it and say, no, that wasn't part of it. Because the cash flow conversation, the loss of cash flow, there were certain things that were happening and money being spent. And there was, I think it was $400,000 of HST money that was originally put there 10 plus years ago that was spent over time. And then there was the ask to the municipalities for, I believe it was $30,000 that we paid in the last go around. So I just want to make sure that we're following that, because that was put in place to make sure that especially the town of Torbay is protected in the conversations as we move forward about what the cost is to operate that arena and the operational agreements that are in place. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Northeast Avalon Joint Council.
I attended the meeting, actually. Just a couple of things I just want to touch base on. There was no RNC officer. Usually they do have a rep in attendance, but there was an RCMP officer. And he just reported that throughout the province, we're going to see 45 new officers, whether they're recruits or transfers.
Excellent.
So that's going to build up their force quite substantially. And in the fall, they're actually going to wear body cams. So that's the first for the province as well.
Good.
So keep your eye open if you get stopped. Yeah, there's only other things to touch base on the UMC meeting in Pasadena and the symposium. That's in April, and then in May is the symposium. So other than that, that was the first time actually they got a quorum in a month or two because of snowstorms and everything else. But it was good to see some new people around the table and hoping to keep going. So we'll have a full detailed minutes for our next council meeting.
Okay. So the RNC are going to be at our UMC meeting in Pasadena?
RNC?
Yeah.
I'm not sure because they didn't have a rep there. Yeah.
All right, okay. So with that in mind, because I haven't done it, can you follow up the RNC to get them ask about that statistics, please?
Yeah, you're gonna give me you got a contact?
That's the problem. The contact I had, I tried to go back to that person and they're not there no more.
Okay.
So I gotta find a new contact.
Mayor, could I ask for the conversation that Jen is having with the community services group around community safety, anti-bullying, anti-conflict, all that stuff that we were talking about earlier, we're bringing it all together. Maybe it might be helpful to try to coordinate like a point of contact with the RNC, and then for, you know, if maybe this person can help Sandy with coordinating with who that person will be and have like, you know, those touch points in place. I don't know if a coordinated approach with that might be helpful.
Yeah, and when we do make contact with the RNC and find out who the contact person is now for community policing, it might be the same person, but the information that I had seems to be outdated. And then we can try and open up those lines of communications and keep them open and go back and touch base fairly often. Because the last time that we met with them, we did tell them, you know, when you're into town, pop into the town hall. If you got paperwork to do, come in, sit down, get a coffee, or over at the Common, come in, sit down in the area, do your paperwork, have a coffee, have your lunch, instead of having to sit in your own car all the time, right? So any small gesture that we can make like that, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Could I ask for one more thing with the RNC file? I'm very happy and excited to hear that you're going to take the conversation around community safety to the mayors and deputy mayors meeting. Could we also maybe include traffic safety? I think that all of our communities here on the Killy Coast are experiencing the same issues around speeding and pedestrian safety. So we're going to be reaching out to community partners, and the RNC will be one of those around safety issues and what's happening. This is another part of the spectrum of the safety conversation. So I'm just wondering if maybe you'd be interested to table that as well as part of that conversation. And, you know, maybe we can have a 2 or 3 prong approach and, you know, have a combined effort in how we move forward with community safety in partnership with the RNC. So just putting that in for thought and consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Almost done. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department. Councilor Manning.
Okay, well, as always, fire all over there are doing well, and as I had said earlier, with the HR, they've got their first permanent position there now, the fire prevention officer, so they're really excited about that, and to get that moving and get things set up with all that. I also wanted to remind the public now to check out their website concerning their 50th celebrations this year, and ongoing things with that. And I also wanted to say, put out a to all the firefighters who were there and those who, well, there was one incident during the snowstorm that the fire department had to respond to, and they certainly needed the help of the equipment operators from Public Works. So I want to send out a huge thank you to that department for certainly always being there when the call comes from the fire department when they need that help, and to the fire department itself for going and responding to in the weather that they have to. So other than that, that's all I have. They're
Perfect.
great group over there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Urban Municipalities Committee. So we're meeting April 4th or April 5th and 6th. I just wrote it down. April 5th and 6th in Pasadena. Councilor Tapper's going to go, and CAO is going to go. So after we come back from there, we'll have a report, see what's going on amongst our 23 largest municipalities. I know the mayor of Pasadena is sure to put on a good event for us, and really looking forward to going out there and see what it is that they got on the go. I know that he said something about in the woods. I don't know what he was talking about, but it should be good. And I actually found out something the other day about Cal out here on Torbay Road that I didn't know before. But they had got contacted for the interview that I did with, what was the name of that magazine? Business Review magazine. So we sent out letters on my behalf to those companies to ask them if they would be interested in advertising in the article, whatever. Anyway, so they called Cal, and a gentleman contacted me from there just to confirm that it was an actual, wasn't a spam or some kind of scam or whatever. And I assured him it was not a scam. And I was pleasantly surprised, I was really surprised actually, to find out the depth of the business type that they do. I always thought that just metal fabrication for the offshore, whatever. But they have a full technical department that's into water and wastewater treatment and all those types of things, that they could be someone who could be consulting with us or bidding on our work, or we could be purchasing parts from them for whatever. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to meeting him. I'm gonna set up a meeting and talk to him about the things that they can do, and here they are right in our town, and I didn't even know it. So they're into way more than just fabrication of metal, which is, I guess, lots of companies diversify, and they have a whole technical department. And I'm really looking forward to getting an opportunity to talk to him and probably have him down and present to council or present somewhere about what it is that they do. I know that they are going to be at the next week, or was it this week? At the wastewater workshop in Gander.
Yeah, that's,
This week,
no,
next week.
no, next, I think.
So they're going to be there, and I know that
Two
at least two of our staff
Two, yeah.
are going to be attending that. And I told them to look them up and, have a chat with them and find out what it is that we have and what we're about. So it's interesting how you make these contacts, So through that interview that I'm doing with that magazine, a magazine that's not even from here, that's somewhere in there. Where are they to, Kerry? You don't know.
Yeah, they're kind of remote. They work remote. One guy I dealt with was in Toronto, the editor's in Florida.
Right. So I got an editor in Florida and a guy in Toronto. I did an interview with him, and then I got a call from a guy here right in our town. So the connections there, you can never underestimate the opportunity to, when you get the chance to talk about the town, where it's gonna go. Because it went from here to Toronto to Florida to Cal on Torbay Road.
Yeah.
Right, so it's interesting. So never pass up an opportunity to talk to somebody about the town, because you never know what you're gonna find out. All right, no notice of motion, new business, pass. Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Mayor. So just wanted to, we pretty much covered the Lions Club Speak Out last night, but I want to put a thank you to Lara as well. Her and Brian Woody were the judges that joined you, so I just want to say thank you again. Congratulations to everyone who participated. I wanted to put a thank you out to our MHA Jody Wall. He, in the House of Assembly, read out a note about Jack, who is a member of our community, and I just wanted to read into the record. Jack has won 4 world records, 11 world championships, 5 national championships, 1 U.S. championship, and 1 international championship. And this worked out to have him recognized in the World Firefighter Hall of Fame. In 2023, he was inducted. So I just wanted to recognize that. That is one heck of a fine accomplishment. And I know Jack is very involved with the growers and doing his part. If someone's gone missing, he's out looking, doing the best he can for people. And I just thought, you know what, when you do something that big, it's worth recognizing. So I want to thank Jody for recognizing that, and I also want to wish some congratulations to Jack, because those are really big accomplishments. And the last thing, I just want to thank the communities that came together with us for the National World Forum discussion. We talked about an awful lot of things in that meeting. It was a lengthy 3-hour meeting. But if I could, Mayor, I just wanted to share with the community stuff that we talked about. And the things that we talked about in that meeting included homelessness, addressing homelessness, transportation, infrastructure, funding, and representing collective voices for rural communities through the FCN advocacy. So those are the things that I wanted to mention, and thank you so much. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And I misheard Councilor Tapper when he thought he said pass. He didn't.
No,
Carry on, sir.
I did actually, but if you give me an opportunity. No, when yourself and Councillor Appleby mentioned the interaction with the schools, myself and Deputy Mayor actually had a great opportunity. We both got granddaughters in grade 3, and one of the teachers contacted me, and they were doing an assembly, a session on governance. So I got Mary to come along, and we went over a couple of weeks ago now, and all the grade 5s were together in the space, but it was fabulous. You know, if you ever get an opportunity to address a class of kids, you know, is really, there's nothing like it. We had pretty well an hour-long session. Half an hour we just presented and told them what governance was all about, and all 3 levels type thing, you know. But then we opened up the floor, and we had question about question about question, and continued for the rest of the session. Right? But like I say, it's if you get an opportunity from any level, take it.
All right.
And I just want to thank Miss Manning and the other teachers for the invite.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so this is back to me. I'll just be brief. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I've been over there before with the grade 4s around Municipal Awareness Week. And last year for Municipal Awareness Week, we had a couple of competitions with the 3 schools that I think they were huge successes. The feedback, the number of participants that we had back with the Mayor for a Day stuff and the drawing the pictures.
Yeah.
We really need to do that again this year and continue to do that. And I think that it was a pleasure for me, and I know that those young students that got to come and sit here next to me and actually chair a regular, real public council meeting, they were excited about it, you know, and they really appreciated to be able to do that. I know that in prior years we used to do it, and we did this, Ralph, where we had the mock council meeting, which is fun too, but it's not the same as actual sit around here when it's a real council meeting and having an opportunity to bang the gavel and address people. It's intimidating and fun all at the same time, just like the first time I ever sat here. It's intimidating and fun. Well, it wasn't that fun, but it was fun enough to make me want to come back. But it's a wonderful thing to be able to spend some time with those young people and try and shape their minds or give them some advice or whatever they want to listen to. But it's really great. As usual, I just want to say thank you to staff and council for all your work that you put in the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. And welcome to our new staff that started in the last couple of weeks, Allison and Desiree. Desiree on our front desk and Allison downstairs. And we got a few more spots to fill. And dare I say it, we'll be back to our full complement.
Thank God.
I know I jinxed it last time. It is what it is. And you know, I thank those people for choosing to come work at the town of Torbay and serve the residents as everybody around here does. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you very much, everybody. And with that, we don't have any questions came in, do we? No. All right. Our next public council meeting is scheduled to take place Monday, April 1st, April 4th, 2024, 6:30 right here in the council chambers in the town of Torbay. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.